Hey everybody, Alex here for Nerdy Inc. with my special guest Steve from Review Anything. Or, hey everybody, Alex here from Nerdy Inc. on Review Anything with your host Steve.
Which is it?
Yeah,
Which is it? Who knows?
it's only you know. Okay, so anyway, today we're going to be talking about trailers and how trailers have changed in the last couple years, what we're at with movie trailers, and what this means for the world.
So we're not talking about 18 wheelers.
Exactly. No, we're talking movie trailers, those things that come before the movies as they no longer trail the movie.
So my notes are useless.
Yeah,
I'll adjust on the fly.
good. So, this was your idea, Steve. So, I guess if you want to start off with the topics that you want to discuss, you start it off.
Sure. So really bizarre week. Seeing Star Wars, Terminator Genesis, and Jurassic Park all trending in the same box. It's almost like it's 1992 all over again. But anyway, so there's a whole lot of trailer hype for movies that are, hotly anticipated. And we've sort of seen this shift where instead of just being like, oh, a movie's coming out, cool, there's a trailer, that's neat. We're now getting hype for teasers, and then we're getting hype for the trailers. And I think actually in the case of Terminator Genesis, they released the teaser the day before the actual trailer came out, which is a bizarre marketing strategy to me because I feel like if you're just going to drop something, you might as well just drop the teaser, like the actual trailer.
Right.
Uh, so it's really weird. Trailers is something I like to watch often for things I've already seen and for things I have no intention of watching, because half the time you can just watch the trailer and you don't even need to watch the movie. I have extended thoughts on trailers, but if you want to comment on what I laid out on the table.
I think the big point to mention is that there's trailers for trailers, which is just ridiculous in my mind. The fact that we're at a point where we will advertise for an advertisement, because that's pretty much what it is. A trailer is an advertisement,
It's all
and
very
so
meta.
the fact that we're coming out, I know obviously Jurassic Park did it, Terminator did it. I don't think Star Wars didn't release a teaser trailer, but they announced the trailer, right? They didn't. There was no
Yes.
teaser
Yeah, I
trailer.
don't think there was actually. I mean, the trailer itself is kind of more of a teaser than an actual trailer, I guess. But I mean, that's the point of an original teaser. A teaser is supposed to be like, we finished shooting, here's some footage, and it's supposed to be more of like an announcement thing. Like if it was anything other than Star Wars, because people are so locked on to Star Wars and everybody's always keeping up with Star Wars news, so they knew when this teaser was coming. For any other thing, game, movies, or otherwise, a teaser is how you even know that something is going to come out. Like that's usually your first experience. Like, oh, they're making this. So you see a teaser either like online or in the actual movie theater. You're not like reading articles weeks before they release 5 seconds of footage.
Hmm.
So it's weird how teasers have sort of become their own, hype when before they would just be like your introduction to this thing.
Right. I think if I recall correctly, I may have to look this up, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy released. There was one week when they released a small, like 5 second trailer every day for 5 days until the actual
Hmm.
trailer came out, and that was unbelievable because it's just 5 seconds.
Yep.
Um, but people were still watching it, and it's funny to me because you brought up I liked your point where you said that that was the teaser was your way of knowing they were making that movie, and that's I don't think that's the case anymore because they want, especially for big blockbusters and big franchises like Jurassic Park or for Star Wars and Marvel, they want people to know, from start to finish where these movies are. And I think the teaser trailers are now more of like assurance that the movie is like happening and that it's going
Hmm.
along well. And so now they're basically making a promise by giving you this trailer that, hey, here's this movie coming out. And it's gotten to a point where there's almost an obligation for the studio to put out a trailer because we haven't seen the Josh Trank's Fantastic Four comes out in August, which is still several months away, but people are angry that there's not a trailer yet. We haven't seen any footage for this thing, and it wrapped before San Diego Comic-Con this year, but we haven't seen any news, any video of it, and people are like upset about that. And it's to me that's I mean I'm upset about it too because I want to see what's going on with this movie.
You're part of the problem.
But at the same time, at least I recognize that I'm part of the problem because I think it's the studio's under no obligation to give me a trailer 8 months before the movie comes out.
Sure.
But we are so almost entitled to have these trailers because we expect the studios to be pleasing us.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a sense of entitlement going on there. And then what I also think is kind of funny though is like when did Disney buy Star Wars? That was when we were freshmen in college,
That
right?
was 2012. I want to say no. I remember it happened in November. That was my junior year, I thought.
That was a junior
Yeah,
year. Wow. So that was even wow. And they already so they bought Star Wars and then made a Star Wars movie, and you're seeing footage from a new Star Wars movie within 2 years of like this announcement. I think that's pretty
right.
incredible. Still a lot of work on the movie, I'm sure, but the fact that you're looking at new Star Wars footage just 2 years, there's always the things you hear, and you're like, oh, yeah, eventually, maybe in a few years, 10 years, maybe you'll see a Star Wars thing. But to be like, no, we got it, we're making it, that's for a whole host of other reasons.
Right.
But
I think, well, especially in the case of Star Wars, I think that fans have been burned, I guess, is the proper way to say,
yeah,
over past
so you kind of
movies.
want that assurance. You show them the Millennium Falcon and all that stuff, and it'll be okay.
Don't worry, there's no going to be no more Jar Jar Binks bopping
Yeah.
around.
You know what didn't make me feel okay though was the Jurassic World trailer.
Okay.
That actually made me worry for the movie more. Yes, I can explain my reasonings. First of all, I think Chris Pratt is a good pick for the role, but now that I've actually seen him in the role, I don't know if it's just the quotes they chose from the trailer, but they sounded really bad. It's like,
It sounded
what?
very dry.
Yeah, it's like whatever they cooked up in that lab of theirs. Oh yeah, you don't say. Him riding motorcycles with trained velociraptors seems like that completely turned me off almost immediately as soon as I saw it. And then like the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, it makes sense. Like if you're running a theme park with dinosaurs, it makes sense that you're gonna have somebody that's gonna like try and train, sort of like a lion tamer.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean it's not a wild animal. It's just there's people that are gonna try and alter their behavior to do tricks. So if they set that up, which I'm sure they will, it'll be Chekhov's Raptors.
It was funny after the trailer, hashtag Raptor Squad was trending. That was the
I
thing
believe it.
that
That's what
we
everybody took
let
away.
happen.
Yeah, and everybody's turned off by the genetically modified dinosaur. I'm finding everybody I talk to is like, yeah, it looked cool until they brought up the genetically modified dinosaur. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
you have
I
thoughts?
don't. It doesn't really turn me off as much as that just made me. The idea of it didn't turn me off, but just more of the idea of in that universe, the fact that people are still trying to make dinosaurs and they haven't learned yet. It's just like, come on, man, you just made a bigger one.
I can sort of swallow that, I guess, depending on how the previous setup is. And even with the, like, I'm not averse to the idea of genetically modified dinosaur. It's just another thing to worry about them screwing up, though,
Yeah.
So, like, in that respect, this trailer is very effective in that it's maybe even more wary. But, if it's done right, if it's done in like a Spielberg sort of Jaws kind of way, and it's, almost like a Predator
Hmm.
sort of situation where you're not just looking at this thing all the time. Also, the amount of CG really bothered me too, because all I kept hearing was practical effects, practical effects, practical effects, and then it was CG, CG, CG in the trailer.
Hmm.
With the exception of maybe those like Tyrannosaurus Rex legs or clone legs or whatever the hell that was, that could have been practical.
Hmm.
So, I mean, who knows? There's a really good. If anybody reads Cracked, they've done a series recently about they went and interviewed practical effects artist studio. And there's some really good information there if you're interested in learning more.
The only other real quick about Jurassic Park that just bothers me, and this has nothing to do with trailers, it just about bothers me about Jurassic Park. I hate how with the Jurassic Park franchise, the dinosaur, it always turns out to be a bad idea for the scientists to have made dinosaurs, because I feel like that's going
Mm-hmm.
to deter our real life scientists from making dinosaurs, because there's nothing I want more than dinosaurs.
I'm pretty sure it's already impossible, but we'll leave that up to the
No, we just got to
experts.
find those mosquitoes.
Yeah, the right ones, the right mosquitoes.
The other thing I'd noticed, and I did a decent amount of research in this, just watching movie trailers from the last big movie trailers from the last maybe 5 to 10 years, and how one of the things I noticed is I don't want to say ambiguity, but the trailers tell us a lot less about plot, about characters, but they also, even at a more face value, they don't tell us anything in that there's no one's talking to the audience. If you look back at the night,
Oh, like Once Upon a
yeah,
Time, like in a world, it's like that. So there's no movie
right.
trailer guy
I
anymore.
think
That's what you're
because
saying.
I think the movie trailer thing became having a guy say, "Meet Jeff. He's just a normal everyday guy." That
Yeah.
became a trope unto itself.
I mean that goes back to your basic like show don't tell
Hmm.
principles, I guess.
They try to show us the plot of the movie with trailers
Hmm.
rather than tell us the plot of the movie, which I like more because if you go back, I'm just thinking of awful movie trailers that I've seen for great movies. If you go back and watch the trailer for the original Dirty Harry movie, which I think was just called Dirty Harry, maybe not, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Um, that's a god awful movie trailer. I would never have watched Dirty Harry if I was basing it on the trailer. But the movie turned out to be great. And if you look at Empire Strikes Back, it's not just you're not seeing shots of the movie. You're seeing a guy saying, "Our heroes return: Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia." It just
Hmm.
shows that
Hmm.
they're in the movie. And I like the fact studios are now saying, well, we can't just tell them what's going to be in the movie because they might not believe us. We have to show them what's in the movie, and that's why we have to put some, our best scenes in the movie or in the trailer.
I'm glad you brought this up because it's an excuse for me to talk about one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite movie trailers of all time, which is, of course, Ridley Scott's Alien, 1979.
That's
Um,
your favorite movie,
it's
right?
hard to. It's my favorite movie. It's also my favorite trailer, and I didn't know this until I didn't even see the trailer until after I watched the movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it. It's absolutely how you do a trailer. Everybody should do it. There's not a single line of dialogue in the entire trailer. It's like a minute and a half long, and it sets like mood and tone, and it's just like blaring emergency alarm signals and just like this crescendo of terror. Like it doesn't tell you anything about the movie at all. It just tells you how you're going to feel when you watch this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets that across so well. So all-time favorite and then of course you see the tagline at the very end, like in space, no one can hear you scream, and then you're like, what does that mean? So by far how you people should be doing trailers more. It depends on the movie, obviously. You can't get away with no dialogue for, a romantic comedy
Right.
or drama, but for horror, it's an extremely effective way to get people to see your movie.
And it's funny that you mentioned the Alien trailer because this just came to mind as you were saying that. I think that's what the Prometheus trailer tried to emulate.
Yeah. Yes, it definitely tried to emulate it in style, but then failed by it basically pretty much running through the whole plot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really like the Prometheus trailer. Like it gets, your skin crawls or, whatever. But it definitely has that little over plottiness, like we were so wrong, like stuff like that people say. That's not as bad, however, as I don't know if you saw the extended 6-minute trailer for The Flash, CW's new TV
I
show.
did not. I've seen. Oh yeah, no, I did see that. Sorry. Yeah, I did see that.
The 6-minute extended trailer that was literally the first episode compressed into 6 minutes. It was everything from like introduction to character, how Barry what's his face gets his
Barry
superpowers,
Allen.
Barry Allen introduction to the villain, how the villain is overcome, what themes were learned, and where it's going next. Oh, even down to the detail of how he defeats the villain by like running around his vortex in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is great. Now I don't need to watch this, or even not that I was going to anyway, because I'm not really a CW comic book TV show
Mm-hmm.
fan. But yeah, that's just a really bad trailer.
When it comes to comic book trailers, if you look at the trailers for every single one of Marvel's Phase 2 movies, with the except actually no, sorry, everything except Guardians, which just goes to show how great Guardians is on its own. But if you look at the trailers for Iron Man 3, Thor 2, Cap 2, and Age of Ultron, they're all exactly the same. It starts
Mm-hmm.
off with like a view, a faraway view of some landscape. You hear the villain start to come in and give some ominous dialogue, and then
So strings on me, or whatever
well,
the
there's
Age of
well,
Ultron was.
Ultron talks about he wants to show us a world where there's no strings and all this stuff.
Right.
In Captain America 2, spoilers if you haven't seen Captain America 2, you hear Alexander Pierce come in and talk about building a new world means you have to tear down the old one, and turns out he's, Captain Hydra. Then Thor 2, you have Malekith talking about some crap. I don't even know what Malekith was talking about. Iron Man 3, you have the Mandarin talking about all of the Mandarin-y kind of things. I don't remember which specific quotes they pulled from the movie, but every single one of them followed the same formula. And I'm curious to see if that will continue because it's worked very well for Marvel. And so I'm curious if Marvel will want to change their formula.
Anything that's, well, there's a few points to pull out of there. In regards to like, there's definitely certain, yeah, they're definitely tropes in trailers, but it's more than tropes. They're more like blueprints as to how people go about making trailers. And it's like everything that, like, if you watch any like comedy trailer, there's always that moment where the music's going, everybody's happy, and then like there's a build up like action sequence, and then the music stops, and then you hear the joke or a reaction, and then the music like gets going
I
again.
know
You know what I mean?
exactly
It'd
what
be
you're
like,
talking about. Yeah.
so like you're going around, somebody's on a jet ski, and then the music's going, he falls off the jet ski, the music stops, and all his friends are like, oh, and like that's supposed to be
Yeah.
funny, or it's supposed to get you to watch the trailer, the movie. And the other thing too is I think especially with adaptations in your trailer, you sort of want to reassure the audience that you're handling the source material well, and that kind of goes back to the Star Wars point again. Again, I think you should be cautious with how much you choose to reveal. It should just sort of be enough to tell you what elements are there. But then you run into the problem with Jurassic World where like now you make people worry that you're gonna handle things
You fill
improperly.
them
So
with
it's
doubt.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely a double-edged sword movie trailer. It's like, did you see the Terminator Genesis one? What the hell was going on? I don't even know. I'm like, is this a reboot? Is this a remake? Where in the timeline does this fit? And I'm just really confused. The thing that made the most sense to me was why Arnold Schwarzenegger was white haired, like because he has synthetic real skin over
Hmm.
him, so like it makes sense that he would age. That's the only thing I got out of it. Like, why is the T1000 back? Why is he play? But why does the T1000 look different? Like,
Right.
whatever.
Trailers, I think, also have now become this means of keeping track of the video of the movie and predicting the movie. And I don't want to
Sure.
say that that has never happened in the past because obviously, that's happened in the past. But given the fact that it's got to be on YouTube, or got to be on your website, otherwise someone else is going to get credit for it.
You don't get the clicks.
It's public knowledge how many people are watching these videos, and it's in news articles.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Age of Ultron trailer leaked and then was put up right after, everyone was talking about, oh, this movie broke records because so many people viewed this one in X number of hours, and then Jurassic World broke it,
Yeah.
and then Star Wars came and broke it right after.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people care about that. How many people watched a trailer? It's indicative of.
Yeah, some marketing analytic.
And then they were when Guardians, because that Guardians was seen as such a big risk. After the trailer was released, they had all their analysts going on Twitter and seeing all the reactions that people had used using the hashtag. And the trailer is now more of a tool for the studio as well to determine how they want to handle the movie, which I thought was interesting.
The hype is so tangible. Studios can't even wait until the actual day they're gonna say that they come out with anymore. It's like Jurassic World was supposed to come out on Thanksgiving Day, right? It
It was
was
supposed to
Thanksgiving
air
Day.
with one of the football
A
games.
football game, and then they ended up just like releasing the trailer that morning. Star Wars, they pretty much stuck to it. Terminator was like, oh, here's the teaser, here's the trailer. Oh, okay. But they've definitely done that before, where they make these trailer announcements and they just like, all right, you can have it.
Well, I mean, Age of Ultron is the most obvious in that was leaked
Mm-hmm.
before, and Marvel put it up in response. From what I was able to tell, I think Universal released that in response to the fact that they were worried it was about to get leaked. I think
Mm-hmm.
someone had it and was about to leak it, and Universal wanted to put it up then. And then Star Wars, I don't know what happened with Star Wars because Disney had an agreement that they were going to only show it in 30 theaters across the country, and they ended up putting it up anyway. So I'm curious why
I mean, you
that
kind of have
was.
to because it's gonna like you just have people going into movie theaters and they're just gonna record it on their phones and be online, and then you have people watching a not high quality version of your trailer, and then that's gonna make people like upset or whatever. So it's probably just easier to be like, there you
Here,
go,
take it.
you have it.
Crazy how much now the threat of leaking and bootlegging has caused studios I think are finally starting to realize that they need to respond to that because they can't stop it, and so they need to
Hmm.
come up with the better alternative. And the better alternative is if someone's going to put online, we should just put it online, the better version of it. And I think that was a
Yeah,
slow lesson that they learned, and they're still learning, but it's happening, which is
I've seen that too. Like even there was a album, Protest the Hero album I bought last year that got leaked like a week before it was supposed to release,
mm-hmm,
and they were like, if you're gonna listen to it, you might as well listen to a high quality version of it. So here you go, 2 weeks early.
mm-hmm.
It's like okay. So yeah, I think people are catching on.
Yeah. Oh, I want to say it was HBO that I think they intentionally leaked the first season of Game of Thrones. Like they let it go onto streaming video sites so
Hmm.
that people would watch it, catch up, realize that it's
And then
awesome, and
pay
then
for it next
right
time.
pay to watch season 2 and 3 as they
It's
aired.
worked.
So leaks, man, they work.
That between that and like people being able to share HBO Go subscriptions that they know about but they don't do anything about because people are watching their show and then eventually they'll just get their own
hmm
subscription.
That's almost like I would consider that a marketing move, really, because
It
that's
pretty much. I mean, it's making the best out of a bad situation, I guess. Because obviously, ideally, everybody would just be subscribing, but I think they'd rather people be watching the show and talking about the show and creating buzz, as long as they're not losing money or losing viewership, as a
hmm
result, which it definitely has not. All that stuff's just increased it.
right. So I props to HBO for I don't want to say thinking outside the box, but taking a bad thing and making it work in their advantage because
Making it work.
it's totally has boosted their viewership and their bottom line, I'm sure. So
It also made them learn that releasing a standalone subscription service is probably the way they have to go. I mean, that's what they're doing.
right.
Before, you couldn't get HBO Go without having cable, and that's extremely restricted because cable has a monopoly on these shows now. And if you don't have cable, or if you're in an area where, you can't afford it or whatever, you're screwed. But now you can subscribe to like you would Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like
hmm
that. So that's definitely, I think the pirating of Game of Thrones definitely helped make them realize that too. So, but we are way off topic now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and now's the time to talk about it because like the next James Bond film was just announced, so everybody's gonna be waiting for a trailer for that, even though I'm sure they haven't even started shooting.
hmm
It may not even be written. Who knows?
Yeah. The next 2 to 3 years in terms of blockbusters is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, 2015 is gonna be huge for movies and games. Honestly, there's quite a few big ones coming out next year too. All right.
Cool. So I guess I'll just wrap it up.
So thanks for checking out our discussion about movie trailers and teasers. Hope you learned something. If you have something to say or your own thoughts, comment, subscribe, tweet, whatever. I'm Steve for Review Anything.
I'm Alex from Nerdy Inc. And
Have a good indeterminate amount of
yeah, we'll
days.
lose to that. See you next time.
See you whenever that is.